Yeah, okay. Here we go. View speaker. All right, good morning. I know we're going to have a few more participants. Again, we had a total of 8 people send in pictures and demonstrating their work on Live Edge. So thank you very much for that. I've got a whole library here, and I keep all of these. So if we want to do something with them in the future, or just publish them back to our website, people have to let me know. Um, uh, I've only done maybe 5 or 6 live edge in a variety of different ways. It's always intrigued me, and I have some success, a lot of difficulty with success. So I'm looking forward to hearing people's opinion. Kathy, can you hear us? Kathy, can you go to mute? Now they're having trouble with sound again. Well, first up today, Mark asked to go first as he has an appointment and has to leave. So I'm going to put his picture up. I think Zoom changed their formatting. So I'm going to see if this will work better today and should be. Is that a pretty good picture on everybody's computer?
Definitely.
Yeah, I think
for
Zoom
sure.
changed their format. I really like this. So it gives you, and I can even do this for close-ups if you want me to. And I think everybody can see my little hand going around.
Yeah.
So Mark, if you want something pointed out, I can try to do that with a little hand.
Okay, so I guess I'm up here. This is a piece of cottonwood, and this is my one and only attempt at a live edge bowl. I was in the High College wood turning class, and a piece of cottonwood that I wanted to turn. This wood and bowl is ultra light. It's featherweight. It really is, as cottonwood usually is. So again, it was an attempt at live edge. So when I was turning at college, the bark just kind of flew off, and eventually uh, only about 90 or only about 10% of the bark was left on there, and I couldn't find the rest of it on the floor. But so I took the rest of the bark off. So what was left on, if you can point to the top of the edge
Up
there,
here?
yeah, there, right there, on both sides. It was still kind of rough and kind of um, semi live edge, if you will. Um, so there was several people around in the classroom there, and I felt like I had already sanded and everything, but I felt like, something's missing. If you can imagine this bowl without the dark edges on it, something's missing. So I asked the question to the group that, something's missing here. I don't know what to do. John Armstrong was the instructor at that time, and he said, "Well, why don't you burn it?" And and I honestly, I thought he meant for me to just throw it in the fireplace, burn to burn it, and I said, "Well, I put a lot of work into this," and he said, "No," he said, "Burn the edges." And I said, "Well, how am I going to do that without burning the wood?" Uh, and the answer is very carefully. So I did. I took it home and got a torch and very carefully touched the edge of the flame, or around the edges, and and darkened it. And where it was a little too too much on the wood, I just simply sanded it out, so I think I used 600 grit sandpaper. So, and then put a finish on it. So the reason I'm showing this is potentially an alternative. If you lose all the bark and you still want to have something of a contrasting edge on your bowl, maybe you might want to consider something like this. So people that see it like it, and that's my story. Any questions?
Well, I'd like to comment, Mark.
Okay.
Um, I think it's brilliant. I would never have guessed that that was burned. And I think that you came up with an outstanding solution. And I will definitely be using that in the future. Well done.
Thank you. A little word of caution, and that is not to get too close with that flame. I don't know if you can see it on the left upper edge there. It's a little darker than other places there. Um, it it caught fire when I was using that torch. So I had to be careful with the rest of it. Um, Kind of like using a can of spray paint when you're painting something. You got to find the right distance to be effective, and that was the case with this. And start far away, and then just kind of move in and watch the wood as it starts to darken, and then move on from there. This
What?
being cottonwood, it does ignite fairly quickly.
Mark, what if you left it on the lathe and thicker and burned it sooner than later, and that way you could turn off any deep burns that happened.
Yeah, I appreciate your comment, and that probably would have been a good idea. But at that time, I was just a novice. I think it was probably the fourth or fifth bowl that I had turned. So,
Yeah. No, I meant
uh,
for future bowls, for
oh
future.
yeah, yeah, right.
And
So
then even leaving it on the lathe with the lathe turning slowly and burn it so it doesn't maybe puts it out before you it starts on fire.
yeah, well, and that is an idea, but yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
practice.
This is Gary. I've got a comment on that. Is if you're going to do it on the lathe, you better clean up the lathe and everything around it. Because if there's any wood shavings or any sawdust, you got a problem. This
Yeah.
burning should be outside.
Okay.
Mark, if you decide to do another one of those, you might go invest in a little pencil torch
Hmm.
that looks just like a pen or a pencil, and it just gives you a little itty bitty flame.
Well, after I did this, and this was with one of those propane torch with a bottle. After I did this, I did purchase it wasn't a pencil torch. It's I
Butane
forget.
one?
I'm sorry.
A butane? Little
Yeah,
butane?
it's a
Refillable?
small handheld butane. The chefs use it a lot
Yeah, you
for
go.
creme brulee, and it's much easier to handle. So I have that now to do this sort of thing, and I also use it for when I'm doing epoxy and all that stuff. So
So go
to
turn some more natural edges.
well, so far this is my only attempt at it, and I'll be interested to watch other people's live edge bowls.
Mark, what finish did you put over the burn area?
Uh, Gosh, it's been about 4 years ago that I did this, and um, I don't remember what. I'm being honest here. I don't remember what finish I put on it. So I'm sorry. I don't remember now.
All right. Well, thank you very much. That's interesting. I was waiting for that story.
Yeah, I will watch as much as I can. I need to leave in about 5 or 10 minutes here.
All right. Hey, Chuck, could I show your pictures next?
Absolutely.
Let me pull them up, and these may not be in any order other than the kind of stuff that I found highly interesting. So forgive me if
Okay.
I'm picking ones that I was very intrigued at how you retained this bark. Its share is coming.
Um,
There
while
you
you're
go.
doing that, I think a point of clarification, and I hope I have this right, that a live edge, what you're seeing here would be an example of a live edge, whereas what Mark showed was a natural edge. And I think that's the distinction. I don't know if anybody can correct that or agree with that or not. Or does
Chuck,
it matter?
if I may, I have read and heard some instructors online describe the live edge is when the bark is still there. The
Yeah,
natural edge is the bark is gone,
right.
and they just sand it and make it still the same shape, but the bark is gone. So there is a difference
Oh yeah,
between natural and live.
yeah, good. All right. Well, there's two of us then. All right. This piece was probably my second or third attempt at a live edge. I'm not even exactly sure what kind of wood it is because the bark is so incredibly thick. Um, I really don't know. It came out of my large inventory. How did I maintain all of that? Well, I think even right smack dab in the middle of this picture is a piece of bark that did come off.
Right here.
Um, no, the one right in the yeah, right
Right
there.
here.
I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that might have come off and did get re-glued. Um, this was more of a as much of a shock to me as anything that this maintained, and I was thrilled. And you can imagine the amount of finish that had to go on that bark because it just soaked it up like crazy. Um, and I think there were actually even some places where I used a India ink pen or something. If the bark came off, as long as it was rough, I added the color to it. Um, it it I really don't know how I did it, other than the wood really cooperated.
Did you do any pre-treatment with CA glue or anything?
I didn't. 'Cause I didn't know enough at the time. This was made with in complete ignorance. I didn't really have any idea what I was doing.
I'd, I'd say if that's the case, get dumber.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm working on that, and I
Well,
think a lot of
man,
people would
it's just,
testify to that fact. Yeah,
I don't, let me see if there was one other picture of it. I think you only sent those two.
yeah, I think so.
All right, here was another very interesting one that you'd sent in.
One comment I would make about that last one is I was incredibly careful as I approached the bark because it was so deep. I didn't want to chip it out. So, as Spence always says, sharp tool, sharp tool. This is a piece of oak, kind of that Arizona scrub oak burl. Um, I basically took it as far as it could go without losing pieces. The bowl is kind of heavy and thick, and my attempt was to maintain as much of the natural aspect of it. Um, Obviously, it's an art piece, it's not a functional piece. And that wood is so hard. And especially, I mean, this is the center. And so inside, which you really can't see, this is the core of the wood. Um, I was just amazed about the different character that appeared. So I don't know. Do you call this live edge, natural edge? It's just It's got the rim, but it's got a lot of character because of voids that were in the wood.
It looks like this is a real thin area going up into the bowl there.
That
So is that what
that
limited
spot,
you?
yeah, that was the spot right there, Bruce, that determined how deep I could go because there was quite an indent there.
Out of curiosity, how did you get that chucked on the lathe?
Um, it was, I really don't know. I think it was a mortise. Um, and then when I flipped it around to finish the bottom, you can imagine that that was kind of iffy because probably only 4 or 5 of the parts of the coal jaws could hold it. So I was very careful finishing the bottom. But yeah, I think it was a mortise. And if I remember correctly, I had to really take a lot off the bottom because even the mortise was exposed in that little section in the bottom
Right
right.
here.
Yeah,
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 right there.
yeah. So
I'm amazed the mortise didn't just cause it to crack apart.
the wood is so hard. It really is amazingly hard.
Wow. All right, let's go on to,
That was a piece of wood I found here in India.
Mm-hmm.
what is this?
This is a manzanita root. And all right, a new level of hardness. I was blown away how hard this was. This, I believe, I used a sacrificial block because I didn't want to lose um, any of it, and it, uh, it just was. I just took it in there as far as I felt I could go. Again, I think there's some really thin parts where it is what determined how far I could go. But that was a really fun piece. My son was up at some place up in, I don't know, Winslow or something. They were selling these manzanita roots. And so he picked up a couple for me, and I was just thrilled the way they came out. That red is just incredible. And I think this is just wipe on poly.
Very oily, isn't it? Manzanita.
Um, no, it was pretty dry, Steve. I didn't have any, not compared to other woods that we would call oily. I wouldn't say.
Okay.
Um, yeah, but again, it was just wipe on poly with a brush, obviously on the unturned part, and then I used a rag in the turn part, and just lots of it because again, it soaked it up like crazy.
When you say you used a sacrificial block, did you just hot glue this down to a block that so you retained the original natural edge at the bottom?
Yeah, I didn't hot glue. I would have used um, tight bond, and then I think it was between centers actually to begin with, so that I could get a flat bottom that I then could glue the block onto. And then once the bowl was done, I knocked the sacrificial block off or turned it off. I don't remember. And then I had to finish the bottom by hand. There was obviously no way to rechuck this to do the bottom on the lathe. And the bottom is just basically flat. It's got some nice definition to it too, because there's nooks and crannies.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to go through these. Let's kill that one. And I think you just had one other one here, Chuck, that had some beautiful. Here we go.
This is a piece of almond, and it's the only piece of almond wood I had in my stash. I wish I had more because it was awesome to turn, very hard. Um, this one, without a doubt, and I think it was a crotch, if I remember. Yeah, it was definitely a crotch. That's why it's got that nice bark inclusion. This one definitely has some pieces glued back on because it did chip off, and there's some India ink on there where I had to kind of continue the color. And it's truly amazing when you're gluing the stuff back on and using the India ink that you can get that bark to blend in. And I would defy anybody to find where it was. And I'm looking forward to Gary talking about his pieces because I know that we had a conversation the other day about his techniques for recovering bark. Um, this I kept thicker than I normally do for one reason. I was still a new turner. I turned this a number of years ago. And in retrospect, I'm glad I did because the bark was so interesting that I'm glad I left a bunch on there.
Yeah, that's a gorgeous bowl.
It really is. And that now is residing in Denver. A friend of mine I gave to, who I met in India, interestingly enough. And I gave him that bowl. He sent me a copy of his sign. He signed a copy of his book and sent him a bowl.
Let's see, did Joel Brooks make it? Joel, are you out there?
Oh, before you go, any questions from anybody on any of those bowls or thoughts, concerns, compliments?
Very nice.
Very nice work.
Thank you.
Bruce, I think JB is Joel Brooks, but
Yeah.
Joel, on there we don't have your video or and you're muted.
Joel, you're muted. He may have stepped away. We'll come back to him in a bit. Let me bring up, since you brought him up, Gary sent some pictures in that, Gary, you'll have to explain some of these. Because we'll come to one picture that looked like it was something that you did repair work with. Here we go.
Oh my gosh.
Gary, you there?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I've sent in 3. As a matter of fact, I just recently did 5 of these natural edge bowls, and as a matter of fact, 6, not 5. And I don't remember if it was that one or one. There was one of them. I think it was probably that one. I lost about 75% of the bark when I was turning. After that, I spent a lot more time securing the wood. I'll start with the blank, that might be 3 inches thick. And I just take and run around the edge of the bark where the sapwood is with water thin CA, go around about 3 times. And then I'll usually put it between centers on the lathe so I can have a third hand. And then I just put water thin CA glue on all the bark, or at least the first inch of what will be the top. And after that, I normally have to set it outside for an hour because it stinks so bad. And then I'll go in with medium CA and I'll fill any gaps between the bark and the sapwood. Sometimes I literally have to put tape on the bottom side so that it doesn't run all the way out. And sometimes it'll take me, 2 days to fill all the gaps because, you got to let especially that medium viscosity CA glue takes a while to set when it's trapped. And then, I go in with a parting tool and bring it down to about, 3/4 of an inch thickness, the bark I want to keep. And once I get a pretty good line started around it, then I will take one of my pole saws and then literally saw through the bark everywhere else, because obviously in some of those places, with a parting tool, you'd have to part almost all, way, in 3 inches before you'd get to all the bark. And so I've just learned to try to keep the bark on so I don't have to worry about it. Okay, go to what?
Hey, Bruce, could you zoom in on that? I'd like to see it closer. Oh, wow. So, Gary, when you're putting the CA on, you're doing it perpendicular to the center, right? So it's from the outside. It's not along the edge that we see there. It's the bark itself on the outside.
Penetrating from here, this direction.
Yeah, first I put it between the bark. In other words, straight down on top of it, right there. I put it right along that line first.
Okay.
And then I saturate the bark on the outside.
Gotcha.
And
how deep will that water thin CA glue penetrate into that?
Oh,
all the way?
It penetrates quite far. And sometimes after I take it down to about an inch of bark, then I will do that to the cut edge. I'll go in and saturate everything.
Along here.
Yeah, on the other side of it. I'll say the bottom side.
Under here.
Yeah. And again, go fill any gaps that might be between the bark and the sapwood.
Hey, Gary, one of the things I'm thinking about is I have had really bad luck with thin CA staining the wood, but it does not appear to be an issue here, that you don't see any residual CA in your sapwood.
Well, first of all, this has been turned down from the original surface.
Oh, okay.
So I might turn down 1/8 of an inch or so I don't have to worry about it. But also, when I start getting to the final thickness, I'll spray it with a spit coat of shellac, so that it doesn't stain as bad.
Is the bark so dark because of the CA glue? Did that darken the bark?
No, the bark is pretty darn dark. Yes, it probably darkened it some, but it's a very dark bark.
And this is walnut, Gary?
Mesquite.
Really? That's mesquite.
Wow.
Now, according to Dean, I got the wood green from him. So
okay.
It came up from the valley. He brought it up from the valley that somebody had cut a mesquite tree down.
Gotcha.
If I may comment on the staining with a CA, something that I learned some time ago and used successfully is if you spray the area with the accelerator first, before you put the CA on, it minimizes or completely eliminates the CA staining. I've done this now a few times. That suggestion came from Starbond, and I've used it successfully several times now.
Yeah, in this case, I think that would be counterproductive because it wouldn't allow the CA glue to soak into the bark. And that's what I was trying to, so it becomes a solid hunk of CA glue basically when you get done.
Yes, in that case, that's true. If you're just putting the CA in the joint, the interface between the wood and the bark, it'd be a different story. But if you're trying to get it on the bark, yeah, you would not want to use the accelerator ahead of time.
Yeah. And now when I put this on, I use one of the Starbond bottles with the very fine applicator. And I'm very careful as I paint around the bark so it doesn't get into the into the wood.
Okay.
Well,
All
the
right.
next one I think is pretty much okay. There, yeah,
That's the one I wanted to hear about.
yeah. As a matter of fact, I went out while Chuck was talking and grabbed some of those pieces. I've got them here that I can show them on the camera. But that was basically my stash of wood, of bark that I had taken off from the bowls, for the part that I didn't want the bark on. And I just keep it there. And then this way, when it comes time, when I do blow off a little bit of a bark, I can take one of those pieces and then glue it on. As a matter of fact, if you can go to so that I'm on the camera. Oh,
Okay,
well,
yep.
yeah, that was just another example. And okay, I'm going to change this to speaker's view so I can see a little. Okay, unfortunately, Bruce is still the major picture. I got to find the camera.
You're the major picture for us, Gary.
Okay, yeah, I'm just want to make sure what I'm doing.
We can see you okay.
Yeah, because see, this is just a piece of bark, and I can start with something this small, and then go in and with a chisel scrape off the bark so I make it thinner, and then find locate it, and if I have to, take off, make this thinner or whatever I need to do, take off from from this edge or this edge, etc. Put it on the make sure it fits, and then I go in, I put CA glue on the bowl instantly, right away, put this down and hold it, and then pick up my accelerator and hit both sides. And then once I'm sure it's on, then I'll go on to this surface and I'll saturate this with CA also, so it sticks all the way through. And don't use any accelerator this time. And then go on with a pole saw and, trim it to size on the bowl. This way I don't have to worry about trying to get the exact shape beforehand. And then just take sandpaper and blend it in with the rest of the, this edge, blend that in with the rest of the bowl. But the pictures you've seen of the bowls, of the two mesquite ones, those are, as I said, one of them I blew off over about 75% of it. I was able to retrieve maybe 50% of that is in big pieces, and then the rest I just had to go get, pieces of bark like this and just start repairing it. That's why I now spend a lot more time before I start turning it to make sure it's securely attached. The bark is securely attached to the bowl, because when you have to start working with pieces like this, you spend a lot of time.
So Gary, I'm assuming you buy your CA by the quart?
By the 16 ounce.
You are a walking commercial for Starbond.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, it's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
And I've got a small refrigerator in the shop, so I keep all my CA glue, the bulk of it, in the refrigerator, and then it lasts indefinitely.
Yeah.
Gary, do you get a heat reaction coming off that much super glue being applied, CA glue?
Sometimes if I start seeing vapor, I stop. But also I've got an exhaust fan behind me.
Okay.
And I open up a window on the other end of the shop so that I just pull everything out of the shop. Otherwise I'd gas myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, one of the things going on what Mark was saying about losing the bark, this is one I didn't send a picture in, but this one has got no no bark on it. It's a piece of oak, and that's how I got it. There were some little pieces of bark here and there, and I just removed them with a wire, put a wire brush on my drill and got rid of the bark, but it left all you know, the rough surface so that it looks like it was bark, but it's just the interface between the sapwood and the bark. So, there are a lot of things you can do just by leaving it natural with when the bark comes off. Yeah, matter of fact, even right here, there was a little bit of staining from the bark, and I just left it. So, but this using this stuff, it takes some practice.
Thank you. That was great. Any other
Okay.
questions?
And I think the bottom line is prepare the wood, the bark before you put it on the lathe, so you don't have to worry about doing as much touch up. You're probably still going to have to do some because little pieces will blow out.
I think one of the things that you've taught us, Gary, is since bark is not regular, I mean, we can tell on a turned sphere or a concave bowl when there's something that's out of the ordinary. But with bark, you've got a lot more flexibility because it's just natural. And you can keep it looking natural.
Yeah, and even as you said, using India ink to bleed it, yeah, there's a lot of things. I'll have these bowls at the next club meeting, and I'll be quite honest, I'll defy people to find where I had to repair it. And I can't see it.
Yeah.
And I know where it's at, or at least I did.
Okay. Thanks, Gary.
You're welcome.
Let's see. Dick, I've got some pictures from you.
Okay.
Let me get this pulled up. And we've got a couple of different angles on this.
Oh, okay.
Okay, this is the only natural edge piece I've ever done because it's the only piece of wood like this I've ever had. I got it as a gift from a fellow club member who some of you may recall, Jim Dotseth from up in Wisconsin. And it's just a nice round piece of, he said it was Arizona black walnut, but it's got the typical walnut bark, then sapwood, then the interior that I turned the body from. The lid is bird's eye maple that I had from Maine. Maple is easy to get there, and a little finial made from a cutoff of burl that I got from Howard Kesselman. And it's the, as I say, it's the only one I've done. I had to put a lot of CA glue on the bark to keep it from leaving. A couple sections went out, but none of it ever went all the way down to the sapwood, so that I had to really reconstruct the live edge on it. And I just I turned it as a I don't know what you'd even call it. There's a turning shape that people call that's like a Saturn bowl or something like that, where you've got a top and a bottom, and you've got a rim that comes around and projects from the outside. I did it a long time ago. Yeah, there's the rim.
Looks
And
like a
that's the
fountain.
thickness I got. I felt like I
I went as far as I could with the thickness of it, and just quit while I was ahead. So that's what I've got. It's a similar technique to what Gary did, where he has the full circumference of the log of the initial piece, so that you get the sapwood going all the way around, and you can see the picture of it that way. That's what I've got. Any questions?
Was any of that bark, you had to glue it back on, or that was all retained?
No, I got it down close, and then I just saturated it with sapwood or
Okay.
with CA glue.
And this is a lid.
Yeah, that's a lid that comes off.
Okay.
Yeah, I have it here if you want to, if you want to put me on camera.
Okay.
I have the piece here. See what I can do. The interior's not real good. I did this when I hadn't been turning very long.
All right. Do you have it there, or you're on?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. If you can see that, I have it. It's the piece I have on my coffee table. I just think it's a pretty piece of wood.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's hollow. The lid comes off, and I chose where's the oh, there it is. Chose the lid just because the color of the bird's eye maple kind of echoes the color of the sapwood, although it's not exactly. It's really obviously constructed, but yeah. So that's what I've got. And as I say, it's the only one I've ever done because it's the only, I got the wood as a gift, and he never gave me any more. So I never did another one. Okay, that's it for me.
Thank you. Gorgeous. Any questions for Dick?
There was one thought that appears as if you did, gosh, I forget what the tool is that I have. It's the disc that has those fingers of sandpaper that comes out. I'm sorry? Oh, anyway, with the fingers of sandpaper that comes out that allows you to sand irregular surfaces. The other examples of bark that we've seen, the bark is pretty sharp. Yours, it appears as if you've done some of that type of sanding where you've kind of smoothed it a little bit. Is that?
I may have, because I often in my finishing, I do a finishing step with those little 3M discs that are impregnated with sandpaper. They aren't very big around, but they would take some of the roughness off. Looks like I might have done that, yeah. And I can see the spots where the bark did come off, because there were a couple places around where the natural came off, and it's down into the interior of the bark, but not quite to the sapwood.
Beautiful piece.
Gorgeous. Thank you. Jerry, are you on? Jerry just joined us, and he had some.
Can you hear me now?
There you go. Yeah, your video's off.
I don't have video.
Oh, well, can I put your picture? Well, you're not going to see your pictures then.
No, I can. You can't see video of me. I can see all of you.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm going to put the final product up first, and then I'll do the others. You had a very interesting series. That's your final product, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's a Molly burl cap.
And then let me go here. You showed how you did this. And
Yeah, I've used this technique on a variety of burls, but you can't do it with bark on them because I don't flatten the cap. There it is. Let's stick on that one. I have a block of wood that I scoop out like a bowl, and then because those things are so irregular, you end up having to chisel out some other spaces where it's.
I think you had a picture of the chip out there.
Well, that last one's after I've removed the, because I use hot melt glue to hold it down. Yeah, that one you can see where it's been gouged out and all, and you can see the wedge strips of wood that I use to fill in the gaps to hot melt glue those to my base block of wood, and then also to the piece itself.
I'll go back here. Yeah, here's
Yeah, I've got a variety of little wedges that I stick in, and because I want it to be well glued, and the hot melt glue is very strong. I know a lot of folks use it for just doing a straight glue block, but it works well in this application too. And I guess the other part of it is I use my biggest chuck with the biggest, heaviest jaws to have enough weight for have a more centered center of mass rather than the the very irregular, elongated pieces of wood. I've seen one YouTube video where a guy makes little fins that he sticks in from the sides and glues it. You don't really have much surface area that way to glue to. So that's just my BM 120 with the shark jaw, or the big 130 millimeter shark jaw or step jaws. So this piece has had the been removed. You can still see a little bit of the glue attached to it. But the trick is with the hot melt glue is the denatured alcohol. I've put some in a old CA glue bottle so I can squirt it in at the intersection of the glue and the wood, and you let it set a minute or so, keep adding some more, but as you gently pull on it, you can introduce more glue and it just all pops apart. And any little bits of residue, you do the same thing with. I don't care if I tear up my wedge pieces.
Well, that little tidbit of information was worth the price of admission right there.
You are
Like
absolutely
how to get
right, Gary.
that hot glue off. Beautiful.
Yeah, and this is when you start looking online, there's all sorts of flavors of hot melt glue, and this is just the stuff they sell in the hobby stores for doing flower arrangements and stuff. It's plenty strong, but it also debonds well with the alcohol. So I have some other kind of yellowish colored glue sticks meant for woodworking to actually hold longer, and I don't use those.
Jerry, I've always
Jerry,
found if I try to use hot glue, especially the amount that you're using around a circle like this, it tends to cool off before I'm done applying it to the piece.
Well, what you end up doing is because I've got this on my lathe when I'm doing that, because you have to, these burls where the swell is in them, where you want to make your little bowl, they can be any place. I've had them all to one end or in the center, and how much protrudes at the other end. So you have to end up holding it in place on the lathe with the center to get it in the place you want, plus that I scooped out block underneath it to hold it in the right position there, because you can never get it perfectly scooped out the way you want it. So there's enough pressure from the tailstock to hold it in place. And then where the wood's, the burl is making contact with that block, I'll put the hot melt glue in there, and you just stick the nozzle down and give it a good squirt to let it flow around the nubs of the burl. And then once I've done that initial, then I go through my stack of tape wedge shaped pieces and put in there to fill gaps. And I'll put glue on the bottom of them to attach to the block, slide it in place, and then run the glue in again between the wedge and the burl, and it just oozes around in there. And I go around trying to fill in any gap that's maybe 3/8 of an inch or smaller. And when I think I've got enough glue in there, I don't need any more wedges, that's when I stop. And then it's usually pretty molten at that point, and you got to let it cool off before you and firm up before you start turning it.
Oh, Jerry, did you finish that bowl by putting a flat spot on the bottom, or did it just?
No,
really?
it's just like that with the burl cap. And
wow,
and it's got just a little acrylic stand to hold it in place.
Ah, okay.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Either that or you have to put feet on it, one of the two.
I'm looking for this one picture. I assume that's your glue gun?
No, that's one of these abrasive spot blasters. You put in baking soda in it and hook it up to your air hose, and I'll use that to a lot of times you get the burl and the bark has been partially removed, and to get in the nooks and crannies, I use the abrasive baking soda with the blaster to clean up all of the extra little bits of bark that are left in there.
Nice.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, leave that up. I want to get a picture of that.
Okay, hang on. There you go.
There we go.
Yeah, they're pretty inexpensive.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I could definitely use that on some of my pieces. Two great nuggets.
I assume you have to use that outdoors?
Yeah, I do it out in the driveway.
Yeah,
okay.
With a respirator of some type on it.
Yeah, I always have a dust mask I wear whenever I'm doing anything in the shop.
All right.
Okay.
So the other problem with those little blasters is they take a lot of volume of air, so you can only shoot it for a minute or two and stop and let the compressor build back up unless you have a big reservoir or high capacity compressor.
All right. Any other comments, questions? Very interesting. Thank you, Jerry. Thanks for joining late. I appreciate it.
But I could be here to explain it.
Yeah, because without the verbiage, we wouldn't have understood exactly what you did. Perfect.
I have a piece that's very similar to that I have avoided for years because I didn't want to screw it up. Now I know how to do it. Thank you,
Now
Jerry.
you know how to screw it up?
No, well, yeah, now I know how to screw it up. I didn't have any idea. That's perfect. Exactly what I needed.
Yeah, the first one I had, I just, flattened out the bottom and I could put, compression jaws on it. And when it was done, it's like, I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
I came up with the other technique.
I love it.
Hot melt glue for regular glue blocks.
And then your acrylic stand, did you make that or did you find one that worked?
Well, it could be acrylic or metal. You just got to find something that works with that shape piece. Because that's, highly variable as to what's going to work.
Chuck, I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the minutes that we'll expect to see your piece at the meeting.
Absolutely. I am
Okay.
so excited. I can't wait to do it.
I've got it down.
All right.
Jerry, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Dave, you still with us?
I am.
Dave sent in a number. I'm going to save the really interesting ones for the end. There we go. And
It's a piece of walnut. Oops, you switched on me. That's a different walnut. And stay on that one for a minute. You can see on the back side of it where some of the bark has broken off, and I couldn't find it, so I just left that one like it is. There are pieces that was actually there's a piece right in the center of the screen on the left.
On the left here?
Right there, right under the hand, there's a piece missing right there. Whenever I do that, well, first of all, I keep my floor around the lathe very, very, very clean. I don't wait for sawdust to build up. And when I do anything with where I'm trying to keep bark, I want the floor extremely clean so I can find pieces that fly off after they bounce off my helmet. That's a piece of walnut from mid-America somewhere. A guy from Flagstaff went back a few years ago and he brought a whole U-Haul trailer full of walnuts. So there's 2 or 3 pieces here that I've turned natural edge. And what I had said to, I wasn't really sure where we were going with this discussion, but one of the things with turning natural edge is to get it balanced on your lathe when you start. So it's important to start the piece properly so that you can get the grain balance. Do you have a picture of that one from the top?
I've got that. Let's see. I can.
That's not the same, but it's the same thing.
I don't think I'm going to stop sharing for just a second, and I don't think I have another. No, I don't have another picture of that. This was the only one of this piece. Does the other one show it here? That balance?
Yeah, same type of thing. And the the point that I was trying to make to Bruce on the phone a few days ago was it's important to on starting the natural edges to get them balanced so that the grain is balanced. And I think there's some other ones that show just the opposite, where you just chuck it on the lathe and go, and however it turns out is how it turns out. And both ways, you get
what
you get you get different forms you may like and you may not. Some people don't like symmetry, and some people don't like it without the symmetry. So whatever you like. I like them balanced, but there's another one in the background. In fact, in this picture right there, that's just totally, obviously I lost all the bark on that one, but it's just totally nothing prepared or planned or anything. It's just chopped out of wood.
Yeah,
I don't care for those. There's one, Gary, are you still there? Some of the folks that have been around PAW for a while will remember, I think this was back before, quite a bit before COVID. We had a horticulturist who cut trees and then got into wood turning, and he showed doing doing wood where the limb grew out of the body of the wood, and so I tried it, and then I didn't like the edge that I had a little bit of bark spots on it, and I didn't like the edge, so I took pliers and grabbed the little thin pieces of the edge and broke them off. So that's I call it the broken edge bowl, and the tree limb. Is there another picture of that, Bruce?
No, that's the only picture of that one.
That's a different one with the same
Yeah.
concept, trying to keep a tree limb. That particular one was extremely dangerous because if you can, it's sitting on the bottom where there was a recess that was holding it onto the chuck. And you can imagine that limb sticking out and turning. It was like an egg beater trying to reach out and grab your fingers. Extremely dangerous. It would have been a lot easier or better if that limb had been turned the other direction. Anyway, that was just a turning challenge. And you can see down below the limb, you can see the bark is pretty steady and up around. And you can see on the top of it where some of it's gone. And then you see right on the edge of the limb where it's all gone. And it was a challenge trying to keep it on. And I did the same process as everybody else, trying to glue it on with CA. And sometimes you succeed, sometimes you don't. That one I wanted to keep because of the limb.
That's a very interesting piece. I can imagine that thing swinging around at you, though, and the danger of it, but it turned out beautiful. Questions?
I've always liked the challenge of doing something that keeps you honest and paying attention.
That one will.
Yeah, both of those. That the first one, the juniper one with the limb sticking up, was a demonstration that we had. I don't know, a couple of years before COVID, I think. But the guy said he showed one that he had done, and he said, if anybody tries this, please take a picture of it and send it to me. So I came home and did that and took a picture and sent it to him. And I took a picture of the bottom of it where I had signed it. And it said, inspired by, and that guy's name, turned by, and my name. And he and the Hunts met at a woodcraft gathering in Phoenix and had some conversation over it. I never did talk to him after the demonstration.
Yeah, those are great. Any comments?
Hey, Bruce, I'm sorry. There was one more comment I wanted to make about Jerry. And this is something that more of us need to do, is take pictures during the process.
Yeah.
Because I learned so much by Jerry doing that. And I would say 99% of the bowls I do, I finish and go, gee, I wish I'd taken a picture of that before I started or during the process. So to help others, and especially you never know when you're going to have a topic to share, take pictures during your process.
Yeah, that
That's a
was
great
about
point.
the fourth one that I had made, and I figured I better get some pictures, though I still had some of that wood left.
Yeah, well done.
Beautiful.
Yeah, just like Chuck, I've got a burl cap. I now think I know how I can turn it.
Just a couple more pictures, and we're kind of running a little late on time. Let me get this shared. I think probably everybody has seen this out of the AAW magazine, but I got intrigued with this. This is one of mine that I love that. This was very early in my turning career, so I'm not going to say much about the design. I wish I had this piece back, but it's an old Arizona fence post, complete with the barbed wire scarring and everything in it, and just a different use of live edge. We always think of live edge being on the edge of bowls, but you can put it into different places and have it come out. And as I said, I really wish I had that fence post back. I've go out looking for fence posts now, and they're very difficult to find that are in any condition to turn. But that one was just really beautiful.
I found that technique to be particularly nice with making Christmas trees, leaving the base that way.
Yeah, yeah. Let me, this was one of my first pieces, so it was very thick, and I had to learn not to get whacked by this thing sticking off of just a natural edge. And I apologize, somebody gave me that piece of wood. I don't know what kind of wood that actually was.
Could be hornbeam.
Could be, yeah. I did this with a mortise, and I left the mortise on. I didn't take a picture of it, but that came out real nice. And I was just going to show one more use of live edge that's unusual. Let me get to, this is a twig vase. And I went looking for wood. I pulled some out of the forest over by Sedona. I was looking for a branch that was specifically curved that I could do this with, and it came out really nice. This bark was as adherent as it could be. There was no way it was coming off. You don't see any missing pieces. So starting with live edge, it made for a nice piece. And I was able to drill down to about this level. I think it's 3/4 inch hole on the top to hold branches or twigs as a decorative element.
I love that.
Let's see.
Nicely done.
Yeah, just a different way. And I'm trying to find different ways of using live edge and trying to do some eccentric work. And I'm finding that that's difficult with bark. It keeps wanting to reach out and touch me.
Yeah.
All right. Those are, I believe, did I get everybody? Mark, Joel, Jerry, Gary, Dick. Yes, I got everybody's pictures, unless somebody else has something they would like to show. I would like to reiterate, I really appreciate everybody sending in pictures. It became very easy to put this together, and Zoom with their altered share characteristics, I think has made the presentation better. So hopefully you got a really good view of the pictures.
We did.
Bruce, I've got a comment. The two things to share. One is when I make a live edge bowl, I'll put it on a lathe and then I'll take a parting tool and cut a groove about 3/4 of the diameter I'm going to finish when I first start, and then harvest the bark out of the area that I'm going to turn away. And that's what gives me my pieces if I have to later go back and do some gluing patchwork. The other thing I've heard about is if you have a choice, if you can get a piece of wood that's been harvested in the winter, you have a better chance of keeping the bark on than one that's been cut down in the spring. The bark is more solid because the sap has drawn and gone back into the ground.
Okay.
And do you let that dry still, or you're turning it relatively wet and fresh?
most of my stuff I have, it's sat in my shop waiting for inspiration.
So is that saying that it's very dry?
Yeah, good way to put it, Bruce.
Bruce, if I may, I'd like to comment on that green versus dry. I didn't send you a picture, but I have a bowl here of English walnut. It has some nice, fairly thick bark on it. This was turned in class, and you can see it's oval. This was turned green. My point here is that as it dried, this is one end that started to dry and it's hard to see, but I did have the bark started to separate, and I used coffee grounds and CA to fill that gap and thought everything was good. But I let it set around a little bit longer and it dried more, and the wood dried and shrunk, but the bark didn't shrink. So there's another gap here you can actually see daylight through. So my point is, if you're going to do a natural edge item, make sure it's dry, because otherwise you're going to have this uneven shrinkage that will cause the bark to separate from the rest of the wood.
Now, that is especially a good advice if you're selling your stuff.
Mhm. Good point.
Yeah, very good point.
Hey, while the Allens are kind of on the screen there, could we kind of do a shout out for the IRD that's coming up about Live Edge? I don't remember when it is, and I can't remember the guy's name.
Let me think for just a moment. Philip
Green,
something,
Yeah, Philip
was it
Green.
Green? Philip Greenwood?
and Greenwood, yes, and
Yeah.
he's out of England, and he will be doing a Live Edge Bowl. When is that? I think I want to say about September, October. It'll be this
Sure.
fall sometime. And he has a lot of very good information in his turning. So look forward to that one. It'll be sometime again in this fall. Steve will certainly let everybody know when that's coming out. But Philip Greenwood, I believe it's Greenwood,
Yeah,
is his name, and he's out of England. I think it's a Yorkshire area.
Yes. Yeah. So really pay attention because his accent is rather thick. But Ken and I did watch his demo. First State had put it out, and so we watched his demo, and great basics about Live Edge. And I think we definitely all need to make sure we attend that one. I believe it's October, because September we've got another thing set up.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I don't have the calendar and I don't remember it off the top of my head. But I think you're absolutely right on that for the timing.
Yeah.
Yes, look forward to it.
Mhm.
You will have to figure out how to understand his accent. It's a very deep British accent, but he has a lot of good information. So
Yeah, he does. Great. Thanks, Ken.
Any other comments? Well, thank you very much for joining. I'm going to look forward to Gary's email telling me where I can buy thin CA glue by the quart.
Just from Starbond, no problem.
Okay. The pint or the quart is the largest.
The 16 ounces is the way I get it.
Oh, wow.
I have 4 ounces. I never go through that, but I can see how you can easily go through a pint.
Yeah, you can go through 2-3 ounces on one of these bowls.
Okay. So more is better.
Yeah, well, it's a heck of a lot cheaper, but you need to keep it cold. Otherwise, it will go bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I keep mine in the freezer.
Oh,
that's what they recommend. If you're not going to be using a lot, keep your CA glue in the freezer, and it keeps almost forever. It stays in a liquid state and won't freeze, but keep it in the freezer and it won't go bad.
Yeah, I just do it in the refrigerator. I've never had a problem.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you very much. We'll see you next month.
Hey, Bruce, one one thing for your benefit, people need to be willing to suggest ideas for chips and grits. And so if there's some topic that people would love to have a conversation with other members about, they should get a hold of you.
Yep, thank you very much for saying that. I had forgotten to make that advertisement. Please just email me if you have an idea. I'd be happy to work on it, send out notifications to the club asking for pictures and different things. But if you have an interest or pieces that you want to learn more and get the club to comment on, by all means, just send it to me and let me see what I can do to work on it. That's what I'm here for. And I will tell you, I am learning like a fire hose turned on full. So a lot of this information now I'm going to go back and use, and I find it very helpful to my own turning. So thank you.
Yeah. Now this was a very good chips and grits.
It was. Thank you so much from everybody.
All right. Everybody
Bruce.
enjoy the nice warm
Well,
weather.
Thanks for doing a great job as a host today. It's
Yeah.
a very good one.
You're welcome. It's been fun.
Thank you.